absolutely. We just finished seeing the first day of this nationwide strikes that are continuing well into this week and are in ways, I don't want to call it conclude, but the third day of the strikes would be the 7th of December, 16th of Azar, that coincides with the Student Day in Iran, an important day where people are scheduled and planning to come out in waves on some of the major streets in Tehran and across the nation and really take on the streets. Today in Tehran, it was snowing, but despite that, we saw students at universities across town chanting, holding their signs, and really showing will and their cry for change. They're not going to stop. And again, as you mentioned, as your report mentioned, so many shops and stores were closed down nationwide, and this only shows the adamant of Iranian people in their cry for change.
Tara, do you think the fact that businesses are now beginning to join in this protest, is that going to ring a louder noise, you think, in the corridors of power in Tehran? Because it's one thing saying this is all about students. It's another thing saying this is all about a certain group, a certain community. But to get business people shutting their doors, closing their shops, actually sort of saying, look, we're not going to do business because we're actually against what's going on in this country. Do you think that is going to actually make a louder sound in Tehran?
That's a great question. I spoke with a photographer today in Tehran, and he told me he's losing so many jobs and commissions simply because businesses are not working, and those who are working are somehow tied with the government. The second thing he mentioned is that ordinary people have a very hard time to make ends meet. People are struggling financially, but despite that, they're taking a stance of staying together, uniting, and whether it's not going to work or not taking commissions or shutting down their small business, large or small, they're doing it. But they're doing this against a backdrop of a financial struggle. But again, that's indicative of their mission, of their tenacity in wanting this change. Now, also, today, for instance, Ali Dai, the star footballer, who has been quite outspoken in support of protesters, his case, I think, was quite unique in a sense that, you have public figures and celebrities standing with people, calling for unity that have been effective, but then publicly the government has shut down his shop and restaurant. So the government certainly is fearful and doing all it can to contain these protests. But again, people are not stopping against all odds and against all the challenges and struggles that they're having.
So what you're pointing out there, Tara, is that this is something that's happened to an Iranian footballer who presumably was part of the seeming protests we saw at Qatar on the World Cup, refusing to sing the national anthem.
Well, he actually he's retired. He's a coach, Ali Dai. He used to be part of Iran's national team, but he's such a beloved figure, and he's really, again, one of those examples of folks who inside Iran is doing all he can to bring people together and really stand against protesters. And there's so many others like him. And I know we're going to talk about the morality police, I assume, but there's so many celebrities in Iran, from the sports, arts, cinema, who are showing their opposition to the government and standing with the people in some shape or form. But talking about businesses, again, this man's businesses were shut down by the government. Why? Because he chose to strike as well.
Tara, thank you for pointing out my lack of precision on Iranian football. I appreciate being corrected on that issue completely. Let's move on to the morality police, as you were suggesting. And clearly the idea, as is being reported, but there's still no absolute proof, that this very controversial unit, and of course the unit at the heart of the story regarding Mahsa Amini and what happened to her and how she came to be arrested because of her headscarf, and of course her death in their custody, this unit might be being disbanded. Can you shed any light on this for us?
Absolutely. I think this news came in the form of a soundbite over the weekend, where Iran's head of judiciary, Mohammad Jafar Montazeri, essentially in a long speech alluded to the fact that the judiciary, the morality police has really nothing to do with the judicial system, and it will be shut down by wherever or whoever started it, right? And everybody took it out in isolation, and it became a soundbite, and many believe that this is it. Of course, that's reflective of the fact that so many people want this apparatus to be shut down. But in reality, when you speak to folks inside the country, as I've been doing in the last couple of days since this news broke, they all believe that this is a PR stunt. First of all, it's important to note that the government and no official government organization or official has confirmed this. No one came out to say, yes, this entity has been closed. Mind you that the morality police over the years has had different names, and it has appeared in different shapes and forms, right? But at its core, we need to remember that, number one, Iranians believe that this is yet another PR stunt to distract from the 3 days that we have ahead of ourselves of protests and strikes. But also, let's not forget that Iranian people's cry mark is for changes that extend far beyond their resentment of this archaic establishment and the morality police and their issue with mandatory hijab. We have to understand that the Iranian government is, as we speak, arresting protesters. There are thousands of innocent Iranians in prison for absolutely ludicrous charges. This is at a time where, this morning, a young woman who was not wearing the hijab in a fun fair, she was arrested and the fun fair was shut down. So this is an isolated soundbite made by, this head of judiciary, which, by the way, Mark, indicates the level of disconnect and chaos within the Iranian government as we speak.
Tara, thank you very much indeed for giving us that analysis and insight into the situation. Many developments in Iran, and thank you for talking us through exactly what is going on there. Tara Kangalu, a global affairs journalist and author of the book Heartbeat of Iran. Thank you very much indeed for being with us.